Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's October 25th, and this will be our chart lesson for the day. And here's a look at our daily chart. As you can see, um, I added a few things to it here. Of course, I just pulled this support and resistance over here, and what I really added mostly was this blue downtrend channel. It looks valid. It looks like it was confirmed here. Normally I would have this a little bit steeper, and it looks like we might have a close outside and working on a second leg down. So I'm not sure. It tends to fit better here than it does here. Although you can make a case for both of them. If you pull this up to here, you have an overshoot here that never even, and notice we came up about that amount short and then pushed for another leg down. But so it's hard to know which one is correct. Normally, this lower side will be close to this other swing down here. And so that's why I think that it's probably, actually, let's pull this on down. If we did pull that on down, it still fits there, but we came up short here. Then we got a break, and then we came up short here. So there's things that make me question whether that's correct or not. So I believe that it's more like this right here. So that's the way I'm going to leave it for now. It tends to fit better there to me. So I'm going to leave it there for now. We'll see what happens. Notice we did bounce right off this support today, and we closed near the low, not completely on it, but notice that we did bounce off that low and close, and we're still in oversold territory here. Usually you'll shoot past that line when you get super oversold like we did in here. Here we just touched, but as of now we only touched it here and we bounced out, and we haven't touched it again here, but we may not can get through that support. We'll have to see. Right now it's holding. If we look out, you can see we had some strong support back there back in March, April, and May, and even into June, it looks like. So close to June before we had the summer rally there. But we've taken all that back now. Um, so we'll see what happens from here. But that's kind of how I'm looking at the daily. I didn't mean to spend this much time on it, but I wanted to explain to you how I'm looking at it here. Another trader sent me this, and he had this channel drawn, but he drew it like we would normally draw it. But I couldn't make it fit exactly right. It tends to fit better here. It doesn't mean I'm right and he's wrong. He could very well be right. So the problem with the daily is it moves so slow. It'll probably be a week or two uh, before we know if this is correct or not. But I'm leaning towards this one here. So anyway, let's flip over to you can see a very bearish day, but let's flip over to the 2,000 tick intraday chart, talk about it real quick, go through the trades, and we'll wrap the day up. And here we go. And you can see we clearly had two legs down. They weren't quite a measured move. We couldn't quite match that early sell-off. We came close. We never really rallied out of there. We didn't close exactly on the low, but we closed close to it. But clearly, you got two legs down here. And once you started this next leg down, it kept going, and you had to look for another trend. So that's what we did here. But anyway, let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades. A little better trading today than we had yesterday. You still had to be patient this morning because even though we're in a very strong downtrend, it's not much going on here. I mean, there's just not any entries really. So you got to be patient. But anyway, let's see here. 7 o'clock came just as we're bouncing here. You made a new low here, so I don't think I would trade that. I'd wait on a lower high. It is a second entry. You could call this a double top, but usually when you start going sideways, don't count second entries because you'll get chopped up. You might argue that, hey, that's worth being a little aggressive with. It would have been a nice trade, but we traded down into this, so the bias is down. So I'm more apt to go short than to go long here. This one's really tempting here. I didn't mark it either. Notice you got this new low, and you do break out, and you get a first entry, second entry. Most breakouts are going to fail, even if only momentarily. This is a little bit congested, but there is room to get out coming back here. Definitely to the EMA, and even to the retest that. So that's another one you may take, but both of these this made a new high and this made a new low, and generally you're better to wait on a lower high here and a higher low down here. And instead we break out and come back up here. And so you got your break and a couple of legs up. This looks like a little two-legged correction, so you could get another leg up here. So I'm not crazy about going short here. Again, I wanted to wait on a lower high. We never get it. It kind of takes on down. You get a first entry, and then you get a second entry. And so when it breaks below that bar, it's a failed second entry, and there's actually a little hidden second entry there. I like that trade. It's right off the EMA. You got a little double test of the EMA there. Relatively low risk, 6 ticks. You can get in that with the 8-tick rule. I like that trade. It takes a minute to work out, but if you catch that one just right, you may get a runner on that too. It comes back down here and you get a similar setup, but it's just too tight. There's not any way. I mean, there's only a few ticks between here and there. It drops and the bottom falls out, but it's just not worth it. Same thing here. It just looks really congested. If we were back to this trend line, I might say, hey, take the trade. Here, really, you got a double top and a second entry, but this is your signal bar really here. So this one you couldn't take anyway. But if you got a really strong signal bar off of this trend line, I'd probably say take it. But we just we're dropping real fast and moving down, but we're not. We're still kind of hanging around that EMA. Look how we're testing both sides of it. So you got to be careful there. You would assume that the trend is somewhere over here, but it's hard to say. And, you know, looking at it after the fact, it might have even been something more like this right here. And I might have had it wrong. And I really like the way that fits. I started it up here, and it still seems to come into play, but it doesn't mean that you don't have this other one inside here as well. So let's just say we remove my old one and come back to this one. And if you played it this way, you do come back to the trend line multiple times here. Again, unfortunately, you don't get a signal bar here, and it looks a little congested, so I don't think you can take that one. This is not a very good signal bar. Again, this one's not a very good signal bar, so I don't think it really changes anything. But this does fit better in my opinion. And in the end, I think I had it a little flatter than it should have been. It should have been steeper like this. And that's why we were turning down before the EMA, just simply because we're coming off the trend line. And it looks pretty obvious there after the fact. I should have adjusted once I started seeing these. But again, I don't think it changes anything. You might have taken this trade, but you've been away from the EMA a while, and you're having to go short. I wouldn't trade it on the engulfing bar, so wait till this to close. Then you have to go short at the very low of the move. That's never a good trade. It'll burn you more times than not. So I think, again, and I don't think you can go short there. It's a doji. It's not the signal bar doesn't qualify. It is a second entry, but it's sideways. So really, you end up with the same trade right here, a failed breakout. And then this one doesn't look good. I really like the other one because it confirmed the trend line. I still like it because it's a breakout and it's 5 ticks. It's very low risk in a very strong downtrend. I'm going to take that trade. If I'm wrong, I don't lose much, and if I'm right, this thing might keep going. Unfortunately, you don't get a big runner here. We bounce. You don't get a new low yet, even though you got a triple test. We're in a strong downtrend. Don't try buying that. Just wait until you get a short, and look what happens. You get a trend back up. You get a first entry, tries to go higher, gives you a double top, and then you get a second entry. If it breaks below that, it's going to be another failure. Just go with it. And look, the bottom just falls out of that thing. Because all these people were trying to get long down here. And they started jumping in here. And suddenly they realize they're wrong. They all have to exit. And that's why it runs down like that. So they just ran everybody's stops right there. And once they run out of momentum, it just starts working sideways again. Because we've really moved a long way in a short period of time. If you look since, well, just since that time right there, which is 7:15 or so, until here, which is less than 2 hours, we've moved 40 something points. That's a big move. But anyway, we start working sideways. Let's zoom back in here. Really right here you get a first entry, second entry off the key entry point, and most times after you get a break you get two similar legs down. So I mean you can't even get back through the EMA, so I like going short there. This little trend is played out. That's a clear 2 legs back. That's your classic 2-legged setup. It's a little congested here, but it doesn't matter. You could also call that a failed breakout. So it could be a failed breakout, a second entry short, 2 legs back to the EMA and a downtrend. I like that trade. You get a lower high here, but the signal bar is no good. Then you bounce. Now you've got a double bottom down here, and you've had a close outside of this khaki trend and 2 legs down. And look how far away you are from the EMA. The main reason that I mark this is because it's a whopping 3 ticks. So you got a little double bottom way away from the EMA, and you can enter this with a 5-tick stop. So very little risk, and for a chance to ride it at least back to the EMA, that's probably, you're going to go back there at a minimum. So 2.5 points is what you're, and we may be bottoming out. We may head to the other side. It doesn't turn out that way. We just keep working sideways. But that's still a quick, easy 2 points you can make, a scalp, whatever. And notice what happens. It runs up. You get a close outside, move to a new high, and you get another bearish bar with a triple test now. Just go short right there. We're probably going to run back to the other side. We might keep going lower. Of course, it runs back to the other side. You make a new low here this time. This is a downtrend, so I don't like buying that one. But watch what happens. You try to go short once, twice, and then it bounces right off the support. Good signal bar. Now you can call that a triple test across there with a high or low. It's not perfect, but odds are we're probably going back to the high. So maybe you take that trade. I marked it green. This is not rejection, what you'd expect from a reversal if we're done here. What this usually really indicates is weakness here. So that's another reason these are green. Right here, you still might be making a bottom, but you just don't know yet. And regardless, you still got this other channel, but it's a long way to back up here at this point. So you got to be careful with these. Too congested here. I don't see anything I like here. You made another new low, so we've got to wait on a higher low, and that looks too congested. Runs up, get a close outside new high. Not really good enough. Wait for a lower high. You can see it's not good enough either, and then you get a failure here, but that makes this a first entry, second entry with a nice signal bar. So we're probably, here's your chance to maybe run higher. You probably should at least try to test this high right here if you got room. And that turns out to be a nice move. You could probably get a runner there. If you catch this, you might have caught the low before we had a pretty nice move here. And you can see if you caught that trade, I mean, there's 30 points back. So I doubt you ride it that far, but at least, you know, you ride it up into, you get the 2 legs up. But anyway, corrects back here, tries to make a new low, can't, runs up, makes a double top, turns down. No short there, it's too congested. And you can't go long into this trend, or short into this trend line. It's tempting to want to go long here, but by the time this closes, now this is congested. So just wait. You don't have a new low yet either. And notice that's what happens. It makes a new low, and then it tries to make yet another new low and reverses. This is all too sideways. Don't try entering either way here. We should be trying to retest this high because that's a pretty good trend up. So when you get this high or low off a double bottom here, I like going long there. Just try to get a scalp out of it. You're probably going to retest this high at a minimum. And look what happens. It runs up, makes a new high, corrects, makes one more push up and turns down. This one is tempting. I did not mark it because a lot of times you'll get two legs. So we could have gone higher. It's just a first entry, but there is a little failed break higher. Very bearish bar. If there was room back to the EMA, I'd say maybe take that. It's really pushing it though. I mean, I think if you came straight down, even straight down, there's barely enough room, and you're probably not going to come straight down. You're probably going to come more to over here, like you see, and you don't have enough room that way. Of course, it bounces down here. I don't think you want to go long there. And it just kind of chops around. You do push lower here. You'll probably have a failed breakout, but that's a really big bar. You don't have much room back to the midline where you've been turning the last few times, so you really got to be careful here. And then suddenly it drops, and I don't see any trades you can take there to take that. Reverses here, comes back, and now you got a trend line working down. This is obviously played out. Now we're working down. Comes back, get a close outside, makes a new high. It's tempting to go short right there, but that looks a little congested. But when it makes that triple test, breaks higher and fails and turns down, I like going short. I don't think I would take the engulfing bar. I'd wait for this to close, make sure it's bearish, and then go short here. But then it turns out to be such a big bar that maybe you let it break lower and drop a limit order back up in here. You don't want to be too conservative because you might miss the trade, might miss the sell-off again. But just cut this down to maybe in half or something, at least back to the EMA, because you'll probably find resistance there. And you can see you could have gotten filled all the way back up to here, but it turns down and takes off again. Too congested. Comes back again. It turns down right off the key entry point, but this trend channel is still in play. And I just think it's too dangerous. You do get a first entry, second entry reversal, but now you're right back where you've been turning again at this point. So there is room to get out. So maybe you take that failure. Generally, you want your failure to happen right along the trend line, and this has moved way too far. So I'm not crazy about it. Of course, you draw the trend line there, but it doesn't get confirmed till here. And there's no setup there, and then you're already getting a break in your two legs, and then you're reversing again. That one is tempting, but again, it's just too congested there. You just can't go short into that. If you put it on there, you can see then how dangerous it looks. That's what you should be seeing without drawing it eventually. You do get your close outside, two legs down, and then you're reversing. Again, I'd be careful. I wouldn't look for any buys to be buying here. Of course, you get your trend up, close outside, new high. Nice signal bar, way away from the EMA. It's kind of in no man's land, so I marked it green, but that's probably worth giving it a shot. This thing is down. We're working on the second leg. We got a long way to go yet. We didn't quite get to the low, so there's still a reason for us to go lower. And of course it does, it takes off. I don't see any other entries there that it comes back here, but it's just a first entry. You can see that there's a good chance it pushes back up one more time. So you can't really take that. Same thing here, pushes up. Of course, that's a signal bar. You can't take that. And then you get a little trend going here, breakout, moves back, and it's the exact same pattern here all over again. So it's a repeat pattern. You saw it work now. Just take it again if it breaks below it, and there it goes. And it runs to a new high, so you got a break, two legs to a new high, and then you're working lower again. Once again, there's a failure right here, but you're just working kind of sideways across there. There's some support there. I'm not crazy about it. You can see all that support right across there. So kind of a dangerous place to go short. You do get a textbook second entry here. I didn't mark it But it's another one. It's right off the key entry point. This trend is still in play, but we just bounced off the low, so it worries me a little bit. And it is a little bit sideways, but you can see you made a higher high than this last one, a higher low, and another higher high. So that's clearly 2 legs back. So maybe you take that one. I was afraid of it in real time, um, but it would have worked. And it's clearly 2 legs back, and it's a second entry short. It's a great signal bar. Maybe I second guessed myself on that one, but there's not much room to those closes there. These are really the main 2 you're worried about, and there is room to get out before there. You can see 175 and 2, so you got basically 2 points, more than enough. It just keeps chopping down, but we're just running down off this other trend, so they're converging right here. You'll see people talk about pennants and flags and all that stuff, and that's all. What causes those patterns is converging trends and trend channel lines. Look, it converges into a pennant right there, and people will tell you the way to go is the breakout in the direction, and that's false. That's 100% wrong, because if you trade that in the direction of we're trading down, you would trade the breakout to the short side, and look, it's reversing and makes 2 legs up instead. You got a loser. So don't listen to anybody that tells you to trade pennants and flags, and all that stuff is hocus pocus. It doesn't work. Yeah, it'll work occasionally, but it's not consistent enough. So don't listen to that stuff. Trust me. You're just wasting your time and your money and your effort trying to learn that crap. And don't bring it over from your other learning into this, because it'll just mess you up. There's no such things as pennants and flags. Yeah, they're there, but this is what caused them: converging trend channels and trend lines. And you need to understand price movements and what those lines are there for. If you just draw a pennant here and you leave all the rest of it out, then you don't know what the heck you got. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent. But anyway, we push down here. It looks like we get an overshoot, then a higher low, but I'm still not going long. This thing is very bearish. This is very sideways. Turns out it's a great move, but you get that breakout side, the new high, and there's that same pattern. Again, that's 3 times in a row. I'm taking it because you're probably going to at least get back to the EMA. And look, that's what happens. It comes back to the EMA. Actually goes a little lower, then you get a second leg up. And so you get a 2-legged correction back to the key entry point here. And I mean, it's basically to the tick almost. And so you get this trend, the second leg up, you get a break, 2 legs up, and you fairly bearish bar. It's not a perfect bar. It looks a little sideways, so I marked it green. But I mean, honestly, I'd probably take that trade. This was an engulfing bar. I would not take that. There's too much support across there. But when it pushes lower and pulls back, gives you the failure. Again, normally I'd like to see that failure off this trend line. But that's clearly going to be a continuation pattern. I like going short there. Now you do get a second opportunity with a lower high, but when this didn't take off on a failure, then it probably didn't trap a lot of people, so I was a little worried about this because now it looks congested. But you see it takes on off here. So it's kind of like a little delayed trap. It had to do it twice to fool people almost or something. Or else these people were just hanging on a little bit longer. I don't know exactly. But usually when you get a trap, that thing will look more like this right here. You can tell the trap worked on this one, but for some reason it was a little hesitant here. So the buyers maybe had not given up yet. Or maybe they just didn't fool enough buyers here that it took one more try. There's a hidden little second entry, but that's, again, sideways, too much support. And finally we bounce. You get a trend up. You don't get a close outside or anything. It just reverses here. You do get a lower high here, which if that was bearish enough, I'd say take that, but I don't like that. It looks, maybe this closes in this 1/3, but it's close, and it doesn't look, it's just not a good setup. Would have worked, but I don't think it's worth taking. You closed above the EMA there. So when you did get this break, so there's a chance you might get a second leg up. What you do, you just trend down a little more before you get that second leg up. It does turn down. You get a close outside, you get a two-legged correction, but you don't get a good signal bar there. And notice it saves you from entering a bad trade. I think it still would have worked. But that's why we use our signal bar, because it filters you out of trades like this. That would have filtered you out of that. Even though it worked, it would have been by the skin of the teeth, and next thing you know, you're going strongly upwards. There's a higher low here. Don't take that. It's right into all that resistance. It would have worked, but you can't trust that that's going to work ahead of time. Here you get your first break outside the green one, but it's just a first entry. You get a second entry here, but it's too bearish, and then it's too late, and that takes you into the 230. And you can see we just kind of chopped around till it went haywire at the close, like it usually does. People squaring up for the day, and there it is. Clearly 2 legs down. We're almost 30 minutes here, so not much. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You had a trend down, correction, and a second leg down. And it wasn't quite a measured move, but it's real close. It's close enough. So anyway, there it is for today. Powell spoke this afternoon at 3:35, but you can't try to figure that stuff out. If it says FOMC announcement or rate announcement or minutes, be careful with those. But on these speakers, don't worry too much about them, especially that late in the day. So we're not even trading at that time of the day. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.